So a few years ago, I really had a financial crisis, and it wasn't a sudden financial crisis. It was a long growing financial crisis, but it was one that I knew I had to address. Certainly, there were many reasons why I was in financial trouble. I, went through a divorce. I went from a corporate America salary to a nonprofit salary. But I never changed my spending habits. I never changed, going out to dinner, taking vacations. And if I couldn't afford it on cash, then I would just pull out one of my credit cards. So in 2008, when I moved here to Georgia, I left Michigan with 2 mortgage payments. Now I had a rent payment too. So I had 2 mortgage payments, a rent payment, and it was 2008, and the housing crisis hit. And so I still had 2 years later, 2 houses in Michigan, a rent payment. And so I couldn't get rid of the houses. But I finally did. I had to pay them. They were short sales, so I had to pay to get out of those mortgages, so that caused even more. So at that point, I think that was probably the catalyst where I said, this is ridiculous. Do something about this. And I had been through a Dave Ramsey course a few years before that, but didn't really pay much attention to it. I knew the basics of budgeting. And so January 1st, 2014, I sat down with everything in front of me, all my expenses, what I had planned to buy in the coming year, and I set down a budget. And it was emotional. It really saddened me for days that there were certain things I couldn't do anymore, but I knew this was the best for me. It took a long time. It wasn't easy to do. It was hard, to not spend money or put it on your credit card when you didn't have it. But it's 3 years later, or now 4 years later, I'm about $35,000 less debt, because that's how much I paid off. I got rid of 2 houses. It's very freeing now that I have cash. I have my emergency fund in my savings account. And so when I buy furniture, when I buy a car, when I buy a mattress, there is an envelope full of cash that I open and pay for things now. And that way, that payment isn't following me for the next couple of years. And it's very simple. It's very simple for me to decide now on what to spend my money on. It's like, no, that doesn't have that. There's nothing in my budget for that, so I really can't spend it. But if I really want to do it, then let's put it in the budget and see when you can actually do that. So that is very freeing. I'm so glad that I finally listened to that little voice, which I'm sure was God saying, get your stuff together and let's move forward. And so I'm happy that happened, and I'm looking forward to being debt-free shortly.